Hi, everyone. I'm Rhonda Ellis.
And I'm Melissa Sutton. And this is Cultivating a Home,
the podcast. This is a place where we will talk about what really matters: growing in our walk with Christ, building strong marriages, raising our children with intention, and creating peaceful, life-giving homes centered on Him.
We'll share practical encouragement, real-life stories, and biblical truth to help you cultivate a heart and home that reflects Jesus. New episodes are every Thursday, so let's step into today's conversation together. Thanks, everybody, for joining us again today. Rhonda, I'm excited about today's episode. Today, we're going to talk about emotional safety. And is your home a safe place to land? So I'm going to read a verse, and it is James 1:19, and it says, "Know this, my beloved, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger." It's a great verse. And so the question comes from that: what does emotional safety look like?
Well, backing it up, that was an awesome verse.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked many times on this podcast about how wonderful it is to memorize scripture with your kids and even putting them to tunes. And so, may I?
We would love it. We've been waiting.
Can you snap with me? Behold, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. James 1:19.
I don't know when the last time I've snapped. I had a hard time. I struggled. Oh, my goodness.
But your question is an excellent one. I think it's important that we all take a look at what emotional safety is versus dysfunctional behavior, toxic behavior, so that we can root out whatever it is that's not safe for our kids in the way that we react. And so some of the things that can make a child feel emotionally unsafe is our unpredictability, or would that be unpredictability?
Yeah.
So let's think about this. When they share something with us or something happens, are we explosive? Are we dismissive? Do we eye roll? Do we focus on the small stuff that really doesn't matter? Do we give silent treatment? Do we sweep things under the rug as if we're just not going to talk about it? Do we name call? Do we allow siblings in the home to make fun of each other and put each other down? Do we compare? All of those things make an unsafe environment for our kids to share their hearts with us. And also what we do with information that they do share. Do we repeat it? Do we use it against them? Do we use it to make fun of them and call them names or put them down or put them in a box where they're not allowed to grow and develop and mature because we have labeled them in an unkind manner? So safety is really, really important. And I want you to hear this. Children don't need perfect parents, but they do need predictable ones.
Yeah.
So I would start with, let's take a look at, are we causing our children to walk around on eggshells and not know which reaction they'll get from day to day or even from situation to situation? Because that will prevent a child from feeling safe and opening up their heart to us. And that's one of our goals in parenting, is to have the heart of our child. Another goal is that we have more influence on them than their peers do. And if we want that type of influence, then we must create the type of atmosphere and relationship with them where they feel the freedom to talk about all things with us without a fear of how we'll react.
Yeah, that's good. And one thing that we've talked about before on the podcast is stop the world, and also people over things, people over our schedules, people over our perfections. So when a child or someone comes to you in your home and they are sharing something with you, how to stop the world and stop your schedule, your to-do list? How does that come into play?
Well, when your child opens up their heart, we need to stop the world. And so an example of that was years ago, I was getting ready to go out with friends. So I was in my bathroom, just, putting on makeup and whatnot. I was very excited about this time I was going out with dinner with my friends. And one of my teenage kids came in the room and started opening up and sharing. That was a moment that I needed to stop the world. In other words, put aside what I wanted to do and recognize the importance. This was a moment of a teenager opening up in a way that I had wanted her to do so, but it was on her timing, and I needed to put aside my timing and be right there with her. And so I called my friends, or I probably texted them, and said, I'm really sorry, but something great importance had come up at home, and I needed to be present for that. And I just sat and listened. My child didn't know. I'm dropping everything so I can listen to you. I just pivoted. I just did. I sat down beside them and real close and let her pour out her heart. And then I just asked follow-up questions with her to have her continue to open up. I listened fully to the matter. And she may not even know that happened, but I do, because I made a choice to put aside what I was going to do to be there to hear the heart of my child.
How can you tell the difference, maybe if someone has a situation like that come up, how can you tell the difference between, okay, my child is opening up and I need to stop the world and I need to rearrange my plans and pivot, like you said, or is this maybe emotional drama or something going on different than opening their heart?
That's so good that you brought that up, because discernment is important. If this child was one that was a constant drama queen or a whiner, or there was always something, I would have had a different response. But I had been waiting and praying and saying, Lord, please keep her heart and my heart close. Please show me a window of opportunity for me to be there for her. And so I was quick and aware to grab that. But if we have a child who is a complainer or a whiner, our response is going to be different, because those are unhealthy attention-seeking behaviors. And a child who's genuinely ready to entrust you with their heart looks different than that. Those behaviors, if they're patterns, we will respond differently. But we have to discern the difference between those things. So look for the patterns in your kids. And we would want the whiners, the complainers, the ones that see everything in a negative light, or just have to talk things out, and they only see from their perspective. We have to help them individually with their bent to help them see through a different lens and to put off complaining and put on gratefulness and put off selfishness and put on thinking of others. So that would be more of our strategy for that. Another example I have of stopping the world was when we were on our way to a field trip, and I had some elementary kids, my own kids, in the car. And one of my children had just found out that her good friend was moving away, and she was really broken up about it. And she started sobbing in the back of the car. So I pulled the car over into a parking lot and got out of the car, stepped into the back seat, and just held her while she cried. Now, that's entering the world of a child and being present for what they're feeling. Now, as an adult, people move and you adjust to it. But for her, that rocked her world. So that's just another example of stopping the world, stopping the pace that we're on, and being late to an event. Again, not making that be part of your everyday life where you just keep letting your kids interrupt everything you do and you're frustrating everyone around you because you don't care about their schedules. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about occasionally making an exception to show your child their heart is safe with you and that they can feel the freedom to show all emotions with you, from holding them when they're crying to just being a listening ear and not having to know all the right answers.
I love that. That's a really good example. Okay, another thing that I think all parents deal with at times in all kinds of different situations, but how can we be better at listening without fixing?
Whew.
Mm-hmm.
The temptation, I think, to fix is universal.
Yeah.
And it is lifelong.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to use discernment again about that, because sometimes it is important to fix things, but most of the time, the better response is to listen fully without fixing, and then to do that part later.
Yeah.
And sometimes your child needs your presence more than your advice.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a couple examples that are very, very moving to me. One is when our son Daniel, who he found out he had cancer when he was in college, and he's doing well now. But Daniel had bought an engagement ring the night before. So as we were in the hospital with just he and he's sitting on that hospital bed, and the weight of his news that he had cancer was heavy. Here's this strong, silent, wonderful young man.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at me and says, "Mom, I don't know if I should ask her to marry me if I'm going to die." That is a time when you don't know what to say.
Yeah.
And you can't fix the situation. And that's not our role anyway. Our role is to listen. I didn't have the answers. It wouldn't have been good for me to say, "Oh, you're going to be fine," and to put words into a situation that we don't know to be true.
Mm-hmm.
But just to be present with him and allow him to share his heart, and just to hold him and to embrace him and to allow him to go through all of the feelings and to be able to express them openly. That's really, really important. So that's one example of listening without fixing. And I will tell you, he and that young lady that he bought the ring for are married today.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a cute little 2-year-old boy who's a bundle of energy. And we praise God for how he worked out that situation. And then another way that we need to listen without fixing is not just to allow them to express sadness or uncertainty or concern about their future and all of that, but is to, when they're sharing their heart with us, to listen without interrupting, to say, "Well, you shouldn't have done that. Why did you do that?" Because in that case, what we are teaching our kids is, don't share next time,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not going to listen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to have an answer. I'm going to try to fix it. Why didn't you do this at that point? Instead, if you do that, which we will, as you're learning to do better at these things, you'll catch yourself and just go ahead and stop. Remember, "I don't want to be in this mess." That quote we've used on the past. Just remind yourself of that and get out of it by saying, "You know what? I'm sorry. I just interrupted you. Please go on. Share more about how you were feeling about that," or share more. Keep going. And as we continue to bring to their attention that, "Oops, I want to listen," they'll continue to open up. You can tell when a child shuts down, they just stop talking, or they change the subject, or they decide not to tell you fully how difficult or how hard some situation that they're in. They'll just touch on it because you've shown them through your pattern, or I've shown them through my pattern, that they're just going to share a little bit. They're not going to fully share because you've proven, or I've proven, that we're not listening fully.
That's good. I think it's so hard, because we want to fix it. We want to make it right for them. And so I think it is something that we have to learn and stop ourselves when we find ourselves doing it, as far as, well, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to make this right, and you can do this, and
Yep.
and come up with a plan instead of just pausing and
sitting in what your child feels before jumping to correct or fix or lecture. Super important. And also the instinct to solve the problem fast can actually teach a kid to stop bringing us the problem. And I would say, study your child, Study the attributes that they have, because this knowledge of how they're individually wired will help us to protect and care for them and know how to best be a listener.
So also, one of the things that we need to protect against is our face. We need to protect our face because your face is something that shows your first reaction. And your first face that you make sometimes becomes the face that they expect you to make. And, your first reaction on things really dictate how the conversation might go.
That's so true.
So how can we do better at this?
I think one thing is just like you said, the first face you make becomes the face that they're going to expect the next time. So stop right now, everyone. Just stop. Don't think about anybody else. Think about yourself. The last time that something happened between you and a child or something in your home where you had a choice of how to react, what expression did you have?
Mm-hmm.
Was it towering over a small child in an angry expression? I mean, let's be real. Don't think about anybody else. Again, what was it? Was it you're 6 inches from your husband's face and you're yelling at him or you're critical? Or was it your child disappointed you in such a way that you haven't talked to them for 2 days? Those are toxic behaviors. Not only are you teaching the child, you're not safe, your heart is not safe with me and in this home, but you're also teaching your child this is the behavior to have as you're married one day and when you have a family one day. Mm-hmm. So let's be serious about rooting this out now. And that means identifying what our go-to pattern is when we're upset, when we're disappointed, when somebody's let us down, when somebody's broken something of ours. And let's think about the body language we have, the facial expressions, the size. My thing that even though I've worked on this for years, I still catch myself doing this, and it's this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And from across the house, what's wrong, Mom? I mean, they know us. Mm-hmm. We have already taught them of what our reaction might be by our body language. And so we've got to get this under control and say, Lord, show me what it is. Show me what it is that I'm doing. Show me the sounds that I make and the expressions and my body language, leaning over them or shoulders tense, hands clenched or whatever it is. We want if you take a deep breath, loosen your shoulders, open your arms out, untighten those facial muscles to be gentle and relaxed. That is so much more inviting for our kids. Welcome here. Tell me what's on your heart. Yeah, we've just got to get a hold of that. So I have some examples of that. And what I want people to realize as I'm sharing this, I'm going to give an example of, let's say, a 6-year-old.
Okay.
And then move it up to an example of a 16-year-old. And what I want you to see is that children don't decide whether they'll tell the truth and share their whole heart with you at 16. They've been deciding since you were little, since they were little. And they've also learned this from our reactions and from the way that we welcome or the way that we shut them down. So here's an example of a 6-year-old. Let's say your little girl walks into the kitchen and says, Mom, the kids at recess said they didn't want to play with me today. Well, here's a safe response. The mom kneels down, looks into the eyes. Oh, honey, that must have really hurt. The mom gives her a hug and just holds her. And by the way, a little side note is when you embrace your child, keep holding them until they release. And then the mom says, tell me everything. And then the child talks and talks, maybe talks for 10 minutes. The mom doesn't interrupt. She doesn't look at her phone, doesn't roll her eyes, doesn't look at an older sibling like, can you believe this? Which would then be teaching the siblings how to react to their siblings and to family members. And she doesn't solve. She says, thank you for telling me. Okay. Then after that, they can talk about ways to handle it. But first, listen. First, say your emotions are welcome here. Now, I want to say if your child does that over and over and over and over and over, there are also other lessons that you want to be teaching them, right? Because you don't want a child to be a whiner. And also, you want your child to be confident and know how to handle these kinds of things. So there are things to talk about with your child later. But first, let them know
Your
they're
immediate
safe.
reaction, yeah.
And here would be an unsafe, meaning what your reaction is teaching your child your emotions are not safe here. So the child says the same thing, comes in and says, Mom, the kids at recess said they didn't want to play with me today. And then you say, Girl, I am so tired of this. Go over there and get your homework done. Or maybe you think this is being encouraging and you say, Don't worry about it. They're just jealous. Or get over it. Well, guess what? The conversation's over. Child walks away and she leaves thinking, my feelings don't matter and my mom doesn't care. So she will gradually stop telling you things that have hurt her. Okay, that's a young child. So over time, and we have things like that happen all the time as moms.
Yeah, for sure.
So over time, your response is going to build into them how they feel about bringing bigger stuff to you. And so here's a teenager now, and the teenager maybe gives you a call and says, Mom, I've been drinking. Can you come get me? Oh, that's heartbreaking. If anyone has experienced that, and I'm sure many, many people listening have had that happen, there's no pain like child pain. The safe thing that shows you care and that their feelings and their situations are safe with you is, I'm coming. We'll talk later. And when you see them, you embrace them. You get them in the car. You carry them to bed. And then you are present the next morning to listen fully and then talk. An unsafe, but a temptation for anybody going through this is, what an idiotic thing for you to do. What are you thinking? I told you not to hang with those people. You are embarrassing me. What were you thinking? Or any kind of response like that. Do you think she's going to want to call the next time something hard happens?
Right.
There can be situations later as a child grows up that we never would want to hear, but we want them to feel safe. It could be, I'm pregnant, or I'm struggling with porn, or I made a terrible mistake. And our reaction should be unconditional love, just like Christ does for us. And we want to be there. It doesn't mean that we do not have conversations that are hard with them. To the contrary, we must. That is part of parenting, is guiding our kids towards wisdom, towards right decision making, towards healthy living, and towards living out what the Bible says. But we want to make sure that we have created a space for them to share really hard things with us. By our first response, something that I've tried to keep in mind is when we've had plenty of difficult situations happen, is I think my reaction is what they're going to remember. And I don't want it to be an angry face. I want it to be a hug and I love you. Later, the conversation certainly will happen in a way that allows them to share, in a way that is being present for them, but also doing our role as a parent and guiding them.
Right. And in those conversations later, there might be hard things that they have to hear, hard things that you have to say, and correction, but that can't be our first response. Yeah.
Well, you know what? We were talking earlier about when children are little, they bring us broken toys. But when they're older, they bring us broken hearts. So how we handle those things when they're little and the consistency of it determines how much they trust us and how safe their heart is with us. And you mentioned earlier, when they're little, they bring us broken toys, but do you remember what you said?
When they're older, it might be a broken car. And to not freak out. It's fine. It's a thing. Let's deal with it and move on. I mean, we all make mistakes.
People over things,
Yeah,
even
for
a
sure.
brand new shiny car.
For sure. That's why you don't buy your kid a brand new shiny car. Okay, what about a way that maybe you did not react well, or your reaction was not what you had envisioned your reaction to be? Have you ever gotten this wrong, Rhonda?
I sure have. I've gotten it wrong plenty of times. And so off the top of my head is a story from just recently, because I do practice doing things well and unwell.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to have examples of both, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So even recently, I realized that my behavior, even my silence in a situation with one of my kids, had led them, they could feel a wall of not being able to fully share with me about something that was important to them. And when I realized how much of them not sharing was really my part of owning the situation, I went to this child's house and said that. I said that I was convicted of how my behavior was hurting them and preventing them from fully sharing something that was of great importance to them that I may or may not have liked. But I said, I want to hear now. So first of all, I want to tell you I'm sorry. To tell you there were tears welling up in this child's eyes is not an understatement. You could see the shoulders lighten. You could see the countenance soften because one mom realized her behavior and went and apologized and said, please share. Please, I want to hear now. I want to hear all about it. And I sat and listened, intentionally did not interject, even though there may be times when we do this where we want to say, but no. We need to fully listen because my goal was my heart connection with hers, the safety of her feelings and her opinions being welcome with me. That's what I want. That's what we all should long for and work towards so that the kids do become our closest friends later. And they do, even married with children, they still entrust us with deep, hard things. And that gives us the opportunity to be present for them, but also to interject nuggets of wisdom that could help steer them on the right track or help encourage them that they are doing a great job.
Yeah, and that's humbling. And like for the audience, I want you to know Rhonda's kids are 20s and 30s, and she's done plenty of times where with this particular child where she answered and has responded correctly, but there might be times later in your child's life where you don't. And you're still learning to stop the world. You're still learning people over things, people over perfectionism.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even live in your home. You had to go there. And
by the way, none of my kids live in my home.
Yeah, exactly. And so their parenting doesn't end.
Yes.
And you sometimes still have to humble yourself and correct things.
Yes. And I would imagine this is going to be lifelong.
Yeah.
And I think the thing to note here is apologize quickly and then try not to do it again. Like learn. Don't just apologize and then repeat these patterns. Apologize and seek to do differently. But apologize quickly. Trust grows through repair. And also, children trust parents who repent. And for all of you listening, an example came to mind of a way that you've hurt your child or not been a safe place for their heart to land, or their opinion is different than yours and you've shut them out, or you've raised a wall. They feel it. One interaction with them of you fully, humbly apologizing and taking ownership of your part of the hurt, not expecting their apology at all. Totally not looking at that angle, but only yours and the part that you have hurt your child and made it unsafe for them to share, for their hearts to be safe with yours. Call them, go to them, apologize fully, ask for forgiveness, and then seek to build into them a relationship where hearts are safe with each other, which includes being a good listener.
That's really good advice. Are there any practical ways that you can give moms listening that can build emotional safety this week?
I think put your phone down, be willing to stop the world, recognize, maybe see your kids differently than you have seen them before. When one is expressing something that was painful or hurtful and you think that's dumb, that shouldn't hurt you at all.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the total makeup of that child, and they might need you to just sit, have your arm around them, to know that they can share fully all of their emotions. You can say, I'm so glad you told me that. You can protect their confidence. We didn't talk a lot about that, but this is so important for a child feeling safe with you, is that you do not repeat what they've shared with other people.
Mm-hmm.
That even includes the siblings in the home. Their heart is safe and they trust you because you haven't shared it with your friends.
Yeah.
And to protect their confidence, also correct privately when possible, which is most of the time. Apologize when you're wrong and celebrate honesty, even when the truth is difficult. And always end hard conversations with a hug and I love you or a prayer. Let your children know unconditional love is present in your home and that you're all learning and growing together. So those are just a couple things, but I mentioned this already, but I want to reiterate. A goal of parenting is to have more influence on your children than their peers do. Be that safe place for them.
Yeah. Okay, Rhonda, that is awesome advice. Is there any kind of just question maybe that a mom that's listening could ask themselves? You just gave us some practical ways that we can build safety, but are there any questions maybe that we can ask ourselves that would help reflect on this?
I think it'd be good for us to think of each child that we have. Does my child come to me first with hard news? And then what can I do differently when you think of something that is a pattern in your life that's preventing them from sharing? Like, okay, what's the opposite of that? What can I do? And guess what? We have, if you believe in God, if you have Him as your Lord and Savior, He is ready to help you. Just ask for, please help grow me and give me wisdom into creating this kind of tone that I really do want in my home. And then how would your kids describe you? Would they describe you as emotionally safe? Or would they say a follow-up line for why? And it might be, no, she always tells everything that I say to her to other people. Or would it be, no, she overreacts to everything. Or, no, she belittles me. Or no, she compares me with the siblings all the time. Or no, she expects perfection. And ask the Lord, can you, little by little, keep showing me when I do these things so that I can keep apologizing and being on my route to making permanent change in these areas. And then I think recognize your child's silence isn't always peace. Sometimes it's eggshells. So watch their expressions, watch the tenseness of their shoulders, watch if they leave a room scared. We can create that
environment. Yeah.
And then the first face you make may determine whether they ever come back. And here's a good one. I think this is so important. We can win the argument and lose access to our child's heart.
Yeah.
So we want to really be careful about that. Our goal is to win and continue having a safe place for our kids' emotions, all of them, to land and to be wisdom in their life, pointing them towards Christ with unconditional love and grace. Grace should abound.
You know, you might be listening to this and you not have kids, but we can take advice from this as far as the way that we react when maybe a friend or another family member comes to us, and how we react. Are we a safe place for those people in our lives, everybody in our life, not just our kids? So we hope that you guys have been able to learn a little bit today and be encouraged. Please keep the reviews coming. We really appreciate it, and sharing the show with your friends.
Yes, we do. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for spending this time with us today. We hope you're walking away encouraged and equipped with something simple you can put into practice right where you are. Remember, it's the small, faithful choices that shape the atmosphere of your home. So wherever you are today, keep cultivating hearts and homes for Christ.